She was a beautiful young mother who cherished her daughters more than anything.
My mom was very, very active with myself and my sister.
She fought for us no matter what.
So finding romance was the last thing on her mind, until it found her.
She was a shoulder for him to cry on. They had a spark.
My sister was like, hey, I have a new boyfriend and I want y'all to meet him.
She felt like he might have been the one.
But when she goes missing, could he be to blame?
He was away during the time of the murder.
I knew it was something really, really wrong.
A trail of clues leads police to a disturbing crime scene.
There's blood everywhere.
It was horrific. I couldn't breathe.
Life went upside down.
And the unbelievable con that ended up in murder.
It was like, wow, are you serious?
He was supposed to be in prison.
She fought to keep her life from ending.
It gives me chills all these years later.
February 4th, 1995. It's a typical Saturday in Tulsa, a city of 375,000 in the heart of Oklahoma oil country.
Tulsa is, I think, probably one of the jewels of Oklahoma. It's a great city. You have all the arts and entertainment, restaurants, good bars to go to.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad when you say that you're from Tulsa because there's a lot of crime that happens here.
I would say it's a safe community, but I would say per capita, we have a high homicide rate. I've grappled with it my whole career.
So when local resident Maxine Thomas makes a call to Tulsa police in the middle of the night, they're prepared to spring into action.
Tulsa Police, how can I help you?
Yes, I need to file a missing persons report.
Maxine says her friend Sharonda Clark has disappeared. No one has seen or heard from Sharonda in over 12 hours.
Maxine says the 20-year-old mother of two had failed to pick her children up from daycare earlier that evening.
Sharonda had a 4-year-old daughter and a 1.5-year-old daughter, and they were at the daycare, and she didn't go to pick them up as normal.
She always picks her kids up after work. There's no way she would have left them there without telling anyone.
That day, it just kept getting later and later, and slowly the daycare emptied. It was just myself, my sister, and the workers for the daycare. They were calling, but no one was coming or picking up.
Since Maxine was listed as an emergency contact, she was able to step in for Sharonda's two girls.
Fortunately, she was able to come and get them.
I picked up the girls. We went to Sharonda's to look for her.
We go and knock on the door to see if we could get my mom to answer, but no one answered. That was a really, really big flag for myself at the age of 4.
She's a good mom. She wouldn't just abandon her kids like this.
That wasn't like Sharonda to not communicate.
Always gets her kids.
She never, ever, ever done that.
Sharonda was the type of mother who would stop whatever she was doing to make sure that her kids are okay.
Something must have happened to her. That's the only thing I can think of.
Okay, we're going to send 2 units out to that location.
My mom was very, very active with myself and my sister. She was that parent, so I knew it was something really, really wrong.
They were worried about what could be happening to Sharonda.
For 20-year-old Sharonda Clark, motherhood began at a young age.
She was 14 when she first became a mom.
Of course, my grandparents didn't want her to become a teen parent, but she did. I'm her oldest, and she was her mom's oldest as well. So in a lot of ways, we were a lot alike. Her being brand new to parenting, me being brand new.
She loved her daughter, Yashin. She did. She really did. She stopped school to take care of her baby, and so she did odd jobs until she was old enough to work, had a real job. The father was real young, too. He was about 15, so it was hard.
However, Sharonda's friends and family rallied around her to help.
We always kicked in and made sure that she had diapers. We worked together to do the best that she could for her daughter. It takes a village. That's all I can say.
Do you need me to still watch her tomorrow?
Oh, yes, that would be amazing. You know she loves her auntie Jamaica.
I love her too.
I know.
In the spring of 1992, Sharonda became pregnant again, this time with her daughter, Majorine.
I was 12 when Majorine was born, and it was just like having another little sister, little sibling.
She loved that little baby. Oh my goodness. She was always smiling, always smiling.
Majorine's father was a man from the neighborhood, Travis Wells.
How's she doing?
Good. I think she's about to fall asleep.
My mom and my daddy were crazy. Crazy about each other.
So much so that they decided to tie the knot right after Majorine was born.
She was a young married mom, so she experienced not only being a teenage mom, but she also experienced being a teen wife.
She was still really young, but she made good decisions and strong decisions, and there was nobody that was gonna tell her different.
She loves the family she's built.
But unfortunately, just 1 year into the marriage, it began to crumble.
They just began to grow apart, which could happen in any marriage, especially when you start a marriage so young.
That relationship didn't work out.
They ended up separating when Sharonda was 19 years old.
But Sharonda didn't let such a jarring life change get her down.
Sharonda continued to do whatever it took to provide for her 2 children. She worked multiple jobs. She became a manager of a retail chain.
She, with 2 young children, found her own place. She paid her own bills.
Sharonda was a fighter.
She fought for us no matter what. Do anything for us that she could to try to protect us.
As a single mom, Sharonda's busy life didn't leave much time for romance. But later that same year, she'd find a connection in a place she least expected it.
Hey, you okay?
Initially, Sharonda had met Jermaine at his brother's funeral, and being the caring kind of person that she was a shoulder for him to cry on.
I just can't believe he's gone. It's like it hasn't sunk in yet.
23-year-old Jermaine Cannon welcomed Sharonda's compassionate spirit with open arms.
That's how they started communicating. Just to have somebody to talk to laugh with, because she was so funny. And you know, just to give him a head change.
I bet he's living large up there, though.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Sharonda was a light to everyone who met her, including Jermaine.
Before long, their friendship turned into a romance, a relationship that Sharonda was hopeful would finally be the one.
My sister called up to my parents and was like, hey, I have a new boyfriend and I want y'all to meet him.
She was taking things slowly, but her heart was open.
However, it's been more than 12 hours since anyone has seen or heard from Sharonda, and fears are mounting that something terrible may have happened to her.
Sharonda Clark is missing.
She hadn't picked up her kids from daycare.
That wasn't like Sharonda to not communicate.
All right, thank you.
A missing persons report is filed.
Tulsa police begin their investigation by heading to Sharonda's apartment.
The police basically broke in the door.
Police!
When police got inside, they found overturned furniture, spilled food, and bloody walls, indicating a struggle had took place.
There's blood in the kitchen, there's blood in the living room, there's shoe marks of blood all over.
But nothing could prepare police for what they find when they look into the hallway.
They witness a horrendous scene.
There was so much blood.
She didn't deserve this.
After separating from her husband, Travis Wells, 20-year-old mother of 2, Sharonda Clark, had come out on the other side even stronger.
Sharonda was headed in the right direction.
She was willing to do whatever it takes to provide for her 2 children.
She made sure that we were always together.
Working, tending to us, maintaining friendships, nothing seemed to stop her.
And when she met 23-year-old Jermaine Cannon at the most unlikely of places, it seemed as if she might get another chance at love.
She wound up finding someone who respected and appreciated and loved her.
But in February of 1995, as Valentine's Day approaches, police have discovered a bloody scene inside Sharonda's apartment.
As police were investigating the scene, they noticed a trail of blood leading into the hallway. And when they followed it, they witnessed an even more grisly scene.
They saw the victim laying on the floor, on her back.
Sharonda Clark was dead.
The responding officers immediately called for backup.
I was on call that specific day and night, and you always know when your pager goes off, we still carried pagers then, that you were ready to go. I mean, it was just expected that you were going to have to get out and see something that you really didn't want to see.
When Detective Fultz arrives on the scene, it's clear he's looking at a homicide.
We started looking at the victim and noticed quite a few stab marks on her body.
Someone stabbed her 3 times in the neck region, which severed her carotid artery, her jugular, and then the final blow was a stab wound to the chest.
Apart from those fatal blows, Sharonda also suffered numerous smaller cuts to her hands and arms.
She had what's called defensive wounds. You can imagine a knife coming down on you, and she's got her hand up in the air trying to protect herself.
I certainly believe that she did everything she could to keep her life from ending. She fought, she struggled.
Near Sharonda's body, investigators find what they believe is the murder weapon.
The knife was found fairly close to the body. The handle was broken. It was very bloody.
They bag it up for further examination.
Police find more signs of violence inside Sharonda's bedroom.
They found a trail of blood leading to the bedroom.
In the bedroom, everything was in disarray.
There's blood everywhere and spatter on the walls.
It was apparent from looking at the blood stains and the blood trails that the majority of violence and the stabbing occurred in the bedroom. Our suspect had stabbed the victim numerous times and then dragged her from the bedroom into the hallway.
There's something else in the bedroom that catches investigators' attention.
There was a broken window in the bedroom.
At first glance, it appears to be a robbery. But when police further investigate, they find the window had been broken from the inside.
It looks like the window was broken when Sharonda was struggling against her killer.
Other evidence also runs counter to the robbery theory.
There's no signs of forced entry. Nothing appears to be missing.
It looked like Sharonda had let this person into the house.
Someone that uses a knife when it's up close like this, it's extremely personal. It shows me as an investigator that this person had absolutely no regard but rage toward our victim.
When the tragic news reaches Sharonda's loved ones, they're devastated.
I've seen my dad cry, but not like that. My first thought was, why did this happen? How could this happen to our family?
I couldn't breathe. It was devastating for something like that extreme to happen to somebody that you love so much.
You hear mom's gone, mom's not coming back. Almost immediately, life went upside down.
As the sun comes up over Tulsa, investigators start canvassing the apartment complex for potential witnesses.
Investigators reached out to neighbors to see if they had seen anything.
One woman tells police she was friendly with Sharonda, and the young mother was well-liked among the other residents at the apartment complex.
She got along with everybody. People loved to hang out with her.
But Sharonda's neighbor also says she noticed something unusual on Friday afternoon, the day Sharonda disappeared.
I was coming home from the store earlier, and I saw her outside talking to somebody.
According to the neighbor, the two appeared to be in a heated exchange, some type of argument.
They were really going at it, and I can tell she was pretty upset.
To police, it looks like this person could be Sharonda's killer.
Get away from me!
Thanks to one of Sharonda Clark's neighbors, Tulsa detectives have learned that the mother of two was spotted arguing with an unidentified man on the afternoon before her death.
Did you hear what they were arguing about?
No, they were too far away, but it looked pretty heated.
She didn't know the cause of the argument.
But she was worried about Sharonda, and so later on that night, she gave her a call.
She called about 5:30 p.m.
The phone rang, and then somebody finally answered, but it wasn't Sharonda.
Hello?
It's a man. The neighbor believes it was the same man who was arguing with Sharonda that day.
Hi, may I please speak to Sharonda?
Yeah, Sharonda's not here right now.
He was telling her that Sharonda was not there, but she could hear Sharonda in the background, and then he ended up hanging up on her. And that was probably the last time anybody heard Sharonda alive.
Detectives are hoping her neighbor can help them identify Sharonda's mysterious male companion.
Investigators asked the neighbor if she could recognize him, if she knew what he looked like, what he was wearing.
But they're out of luck.
I saw them from pretty far away, so I really couldn't get a very good look at them.
All that she could recall was that he was a black man in his 20s.
Thank you for your time, man.
Tracking down this new suspect is now investigators' #1 priority.
Sharonda recently separated from her ex-husband, Travis Wells.
Could he be the person she was arguing with that day?
In cases like this, police usually start their investigation with those closest to the victim or anyone they've recently had a disagreement with.
However, it's soon clear Sharonda and her ex didn't have any bad blood.
They were still on amicable terms, that they had exchanged and arranged visitation for their child.
They both got along with one another and were co-parenting and being able to communicate with each other.
After their separation, Travis hadn't even stayed in Tulsa.
Majorene's dad, he moved to Ohio and didn't come back.
He was away during the time of the murder.
Without Travis Wells as a suspect, detectives are back at square one.
Next, investigators subpoena Sharonda's phone records and her bank records, hoping to find something that will give them a clue to what happened.
As detectives pore over the records, they're looking for anything that might raise a red flag.
They looked through all of her recent communications and transactions, but nothing stood out.
They come up empty.
Forensic testing on the murder weapon also leads to a dead end.
They were hoping to recover some fingerprints from the knife, but there was nothing there.
Less than 24 hours into their murder investigation, detectives are already running out of leads. But when they start reaching out to Sharonda's circle of friends, they finally make some headway.
One of Sharonda's friends tells them that she knows of a man Sharonda had been seeing.
Yeah. She met this guy at the funeral for his brother. His name is Jermaine Cannon.
The two of them really hit it off, and Sharonda seemed happy.
However, Sharonda's romance with Jermaine soon hit a roadblock.
One day, Jermaine was just gone.
She told me he took off. She didn't know where he went or what happened to him.
She kind of felt like he might have been the one. Then he disappeared.
She was devastated. She had opened her heart up to someone. Had she missed something?
However, in January of 1995, Jermaine reappeared.
Out of nowhere, Jermaine landed back on her doorstep. Sharonda was shocked.
Did you miss me?
Jermaine, what are you doing here?
Sharonda was happy to see him.
But she was also hesitant to let Jermaine back into her life.
She couldn't rid her mind of those questions. What happened? Why did he leave?
It's been months, Jermaine. Where have you been?
He said, I had to go out of town to take care of some family stuff. He kind of dodged the question, and then he asked Sharonda if he could stay with her.
Why didn't you just let me know where you were going? You just up and left.
I'm sorry, baby. It all happened so fast, but I'm here now. We can be together again.
I don't think she was really comfortable with it, but she said he could stay. He didn't have any place else to go.
She still wanted to carry on this relationship. She just loved him unconditionally.
But after Jermaine moved in, Sharonda quickly came to regret her decision.
She didn't feel like he was being totally honest with her.
Sharonda was probably pulling away from the relationship, and that's when the aggression started.
Jermaine turned violent.
They were fighting. People were starting to notice bruises on Sharonda.
And as the tensions grew, Sharonda confronted Jermaine over his lies.
What do you want?
I want to know where you've been all these months. And I want the truth this time.
Fine, okay? You really want to know?
She found out that he was escaped from jail.
He was a wanted man.
Police in Tulsa, Oklahoma have been trying to identify the man Sharonda Clark was seen arguing with on the day before her body was found.
A neighbor reported seeing Sharonda having an intense argument outside of her apartment with a young black male.
Now, thanks to one of Sharonda's close friends, police think they know who that man was. 23-year-old Jermaine Cannon.
According to the friend, Jermaine and Sharonda had a tumultuous relationship.
A relationship that became even more turbulent after Sharonda learned the truth about her new beau.
I want to know where you've been all these months. And I want the truth this time.
Fine. You really want to know?
Jermaine had been in prison.
What do you mean prison?
I mean, I got locked up, but then I got away.
On the day that he showed up at her door, he'd escaped. The news just shocked Sharonda.
When she told me that, I knew he was bad news. I told her she needed to get away from him.
Sharonda wholeheartedly agreed.
If she knew what had occurred as far as him being an escapee, I really don't have any doubt that she wouldn't have let him in her apartment.
She knew she couldn't have that around her children.
Now, do you have any recollection of Jermaine?
Here and there, like glimpses of him coming in, not really knowing who he was, you know, being a kid, asking, who is this? Who's staying over? That kind of thing. So it wasn't like, oh, he had been here for a long time.
In the days before she was killed, friends believe Sharonda had been making plans to remove Jermaine from her apartment and her life for good.
She was preparing to kick him out.
One day, Sharonda called her friend, asking if she could watch her children because she was worried about them being in the house.
Sharonda had called my mother and told her that I needed to get a hold of her ASAP. So I called her phone, but I didn't get any answer from her. I was a little concerned, but I wasn't really too stressed about it because I wasn't sure exactly what she wanted.
Sharonda made these calls. On the same day, the neighbors saw her arguing with the man outside.
For detectives, the picture of what happened to Sharonda is becoming clearer.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming down.
So now detectives are starting to put this puzzle together. They think what the neighbors saw was Sharonda kicking Jermaine out of her apartment.
When detectives run a background check on Jermaine, they're able to confirm much of what Sharonda's friends have told them.
We determined that Mr. Cannon had a history of being violent toward women.
Police came across an incident report involving a woman who claimed that Jermaine had burglarized and assaulted her.
He snuck in through a basement window, and she woke up with his hand over her mouth.
A more recent arrest suggests that Jermaine's pattern of violence has been escalating.
The second woman, a former girlfriend, he ended up getting into an argument with her and tried to kill her by using an iron, a toaster, and a hammer, and left her for dead.
She was very fortunate not to have been killed.
He got prosecuted for an assault and battery with intent to kill and got 15 years.
But Jermaine wasn't behind bars for long.
They quickly learned that he had indeed escaped prison.
It was a medium security type facility where they had some freedom. They weren't locked down all the time.
And for whatever reason, he got it in his head that I've had enough of this being incarcerated.
He stole a bus and made his way to Tulsa.
Now, detectives are more determined than ever to track down Jermaine. But that proves easier said than done.
No one has seen him since the day before Sharonda's disappearance.
However, their luck changes when police receive intel from an unexpected source.
The lead detective gets a call. A woman claims to have information about Sharonda's case.
Yes. Is this the detective who's looking for Jermaine Cannon?
Yes, ma'am.
The caller is Jermaine's mother.
She knew her son was in trouble.
She put the pieces together.
Police in Tulsa, Oklahoma have discovered that just a few weeks before she was killed, Sharonda Clark had been tricked into welcoming an escaped convict into her home.
I was in prison.
Jermaine Cannon stole a truck, ended up in Tulsa, and she was just trying to help him out.
Now investigators are searching for the suspected killer, and they've just received a promising lead on his whereabouts.
Yes, ma'am.
They received a phone call from Jermaine's mother. She tipped them off that he had gone to Flint, Michigan.
So you're saying he's in Flint right now?
Yes, sir.
And how do you know this?
He told me himself.
She tells investigators that Jermaine called her, and it surprised her because she knew he was supposed to be in prison.
Somehow or other, he had gotten out of prison, and he said that he was about to take a bus to Flint.
Why Flint?
That's where his uncle is.
Jermaine also told his mother the police were after him for something he didn't do.
That something was the murder of Sharonda Clark.
Jermaine told his mother that he did get in a fight with Sharonda, but it wasn't what it looked like. He insisted on that.
The family didn't want to believe that Jermaine would do this, but they also understood that it was very likely that he had, given his actions, the fact that he had been staying there, the fact that he had escaped from prison.
I told him to turn himself in, but he wouldn't listen to me.
Okay, thank you.
After speaking with Jermaine's mother, Tulsa detectives immediately reach out to law enforcement in Michigan.
They contacted the Flint Police Department and were arranging to have Jermaine arrested at his uncle's house.
But before they can make their move, investigators receive another surprising phone call.
Jermaine actually called Detective Foltz.
He called me. Pretty unusual for a suspect to voluntarily call. but his family had convinced him that it would be in his best interest.
Jermaine tells investigators he knows what the crime scene looks like. He knows how bad it is, but he wants them to give him a chance to tell his side of the story.
Within hours, Jermaine turns himself over to law enforcement.
Investigators explain to Jermaine that they already know he escaped from prison. They ask him to start from there.
Jermaine says once he made his escape, he headed straight for Sharonda's apartment.
He went to Sharonda because they had a spark before he'd gone to prison.
Look, I needed some place to go where I thought the cops wouldn't find me. And I thought that maybe she would let me stay with her.
Jermaine tells investigators that they quickly hit it off. Things were going good for a while, but eventually they began arguing.
Then she started getting on my case about every little thing, you know?
He's painting Sharonda as the aggressor in this relationship. He claimed that she was violent and she was intimidating.
Then, on February 3rd, he says the tensions reached a breaking point.
Jermaine tells investigators that he decided to leave, that he was worried about what Sharonda might do to him, and so he wasn't going to tell her.
Look, I was gonna just leave her, okay? I just didn't need her going off on me again.
But Jermaine says before he could make his exit, Sharonda realized what he was up to.
As he was packing up his things, Sharonda came and questioned him. What are you doing?
I can't do this anymore, Sharonda.
What do you mean?
I can't do this no more.
What can't you do?
This!
So you're leaving?
Yes.
He said I was leaving her and she didn't want me to leave.
And she was really mad and she started physically attacking me.
He says after a while, he had no choice but to fight back.
During the struggle, Jermaine says they shattered Sharonda's bedroom windows.
Jermaine says Sharonda went ballistic, lunging at him with a knife, cutting him. The struggle ensued to get control of it.
In the struggle, the knife hit the floor. They both looked at the knife, and he dove for it.
After tracking their suspect almost 1,000 miles from Tulsa, Oklahoma to Flint, Michigan, homicide detectives have arrested Jermaine Cannon for the murder of his girlfriend, Sharonda Clark.
He showed us that he was a very dangerous man. Here's a guy that can't stay out of custody 22 days before he tries to kill somebody else.
But according to Jermaine, Sharonda was the dangerous one in their relationship.
Jermaine's side of the story was that Sharonda was the aggressor and that he was afraid of Sharonda.
Jermaine tells police that on February 3rd, he and Sharonda got into an argument when he revealed that he was leaving her.
Jermaine says she spiraled out of control.
He said we got in an argument and she pulled a knife on him.
Chill.
He was able to gain control of the knife to protect himself.
He admitted that he killed her, but he said he did it in self-defense.
Jermaine says once he realized what he'd done, he tried to help Sharonda.
Look, I didn't want her to die.
He tries to drag her body to the bathroom to find something to stop the bleeding.
He said I was gonna get her first aid.
But Jermaine could tell that Sharonda was already dead.
I couldn't call the cops because, I was a wanted man.
So what did you do?
I got out of there.
He then bought a bus ticket to Flint, Michigan, and went up and knocked on his uncle's door.
Mr. Cannon did not admit that he was at fault. He blamed the victim for the whole thing, said it was all her fault.
Investigators don't buy a word of it.
It's nothing but a story, because there's nothing in evidence that supports his story.
For one thing, Jermaine doesn't have any of the defensive wounds detectives would expect to see if Sharonda had really attacked him with a knife.
He shows detectives his hand.
It didn't have a scratch on it.
what Jermaine was saying couldn't possibly be true. There was no way that she was the aggressor in this situation.
It was the bloodiest scene I'd ever prosecuted. The amount of blood indicating that she was running, trying to get away from him until she couldn't get away anymore. So there just wasn't anything to support his story.
Investigators charged him with first-degree murder.
When Jermaine's trial begins on March 12, 1996, prosecutors outline what they believe really happened that night.
They say that the argument Sharonda's neighbor witnessed was her confronting him over his lies and abuse.
Sharonda wanted him to leave.
But for Jermaine, that wasn't an option.
If she put him out, he would have nowhere to go.
He knew that things would be only worse for him if he had to go back to prison after escaping.
Instead of packing his bags, Jermaine stood his ground.
You think I'm gonna let you kick me out after everything I went through?
He enjoyed his freedom, and he wasn't gonna let anyone, not even Sharonda, stop him.
Jermaine was enraged and tried to beat Sharonda into submission.
But when that wasn't enough, Jermaine went into the kitchen and grabbed a knife.
Get away. Get away from me. Get away from me.
He then started to chase her through the house.
She's running all over this house trying to save her life. I mean, the sheer terror that she went through.
He stabbed Sharonda in cold blood.
He ended up stabbing her 4 times. It gives me chills all these years later. I'm sure it did the same thing to the jury.
Jermaine's own demeanor in the courtroom does little to help his case.
During the trial, he was sitting there with a smile on his face. And it was like, wow, are you serious?
When I saw him, I was kind of shocked. He had this cocky attitude about him, like, yeah, I'm gonna win. There was no remorse. He didn't care.
It takes the jury just 2 short hours to reach a decision.
The jury found Jermaine Cannon guilty of first-degree murder.
It was tears, like, yes, finally, we were happy and relieved.
The jury sentenced him to death by lethal injection, and ultimately, that sentence was carried out July 20th, 2023.
More than 28 years after her murder, Sharonda's loved ones are present for Jermaine's execution.
So we get in the room first, and you could see him mouthing and talking to his family like, I love you, and thumbs up, and grinning, and I'm just like, I'm instantly irritated because my mom didn't get to do any of this. She didn't get to pick her last meal. She damn sure didn't get to say goodbye to anybody. So it was like a slap in the face. It kind of felt like we were doing a make-a-wish for a death row individual.
Jermaine Cannon had an opportunity to say some last words before they started the execution.
His final words are, I confess with my mouth and believe with my heart that God raised Jesus from the dead. Therefore, I am saved.
I know it hurt my niece, my oldest niece, Yashin, more because he got to live basically a whole nother 30 years, a whole life.
Afterwards, I felt confused. I mean, I was happy that I was there. I was happy that I seen it through. I was happy that I got to support my mom when she couldn't. It was just disappointing in the mannerism of how the system was set up to carry it out.
It's a very sobering experience. You never really want to witness somebody's death. However,
He was just a great, fun dad, a cool dad. He's gonna always tell you, I'm cool, I got the swag.
I could not have asked for a better father for my daughter. And for his life to end the way it did, it was just horrific.
Firefighters discovered an unidentified body
Investigators immediately smell the unmistakable scent of gasoline. Timothy greeted someone at the front door.
This person who appears to be a meter reader.
We tried to ask the public, hey, does anybody know who this person is?
I'm like, what enemies could he have? Who could do this?
All that effort to more or less put a costume on, then execute them. It's kind of the ultimate payback.
On September 14th, 2015, at 12:43 a.m., the Chicago Fire Department responds to a 911 call about a house fire in Morgan Park.
The neighbors heard a loud explosion. It woke the whole neighborhood up. And because it alarmed everybody, they proceeded to call 911.
Firefighters find a single-story home fully engulfed in flames.
Firefighters rush inside of the house to battle this blaze.
By 1:22 a.m., the fire is extinguished.
Firefighters aren't going from room to room. They discovered an unidentified body in the back addition.
They discover this body. It's burnt, really beyond, recognition.
The homeowner is listed as 48-year-old Timothy Lawrence.
The assumption is that it was probably Timothy. One of the firefighters knew him and called his ex-wife.
It was early in the morning, I would say probably 3:30 maybe. My phone rang and it was his cousin. He was a firefighter. And he was like, hey, we just got a call. There's a fire at Tim's house. He's like, have you heard from him? I called my parents and I'm like, hey, I just got a call saying that Timothy's house is on fire. Nobody can reach him. And my mom didn't want me to drive, so they came and got me. And we went to the house. In my mind, I'm still hoping, I'm still praying.
Timothy Lawrence was born in Chicago on March 21st, 1967. The second son in a family of 5.
Timothy's parents got a divorce and he ended up moving around a lot. In fact, he stayed in about 17 addresses.
His father lived in Aurora, and Timothy spent quite a bit of time with his father. Timothy decided to enroll in high school in South Shore, where his grandmother resided.
During his senior year at South Shore High School, Timothy met Patricia.
I remember it clearly. It was on the 63rd Street bus. He got on with a friend of his. I was sitting in the back of the bus, and he came up there, and him and his friends just started messing with me. I had a heavy accent at that time, so when I said something, he was like, oh my God, where are you from? And so we just got to talking, and he asked for my number. I gave it to him. And by the time I got home, my grandmother was like, hey, some boy named Timothy called for you. I'm like, wow, that was quick. He was just a totally opposite person from me. He was more outgoing. He had so many friends where I was more of an introvert. So I think that's why we got along so well. I think I fell in love pretty quickly with him, and we just started hanging at every opportunity we got, and he was so ambitious.
Timothy dreamt of becoming a professional performer.
In high school, he was in this group called the Men from Mars, and it was a dance. They dance and they rap. I just knew he was gonna make it as a musician, because that's how into it he was.
In 1995, after 10 years together, Timothy and Patricia got married. Soon after, they welcomed a daughter, Destiny.
He was just a great, fun dad, a cool dad. If you ask him, he's gonna always tell you, you know, I'm cool, I got the swag. Stuff like that.
Timothy set his dreams of fame aside and focused on fatherhood.
Once I had Destiny, he was like, you know, I gotta take care of my family. I gotta do something else. So he went ahead and got his CDL, and he was on the road for a while. He did not like it. He did not like being on the road, especially. He'll be gone weeks at a time.
When he was on the road and couldn't answer, I would leave him voicemails of me, of like songs that I came up with. It was really cute.
In the early 2000s, Timothy and Patricia hit a rough patch.
I think we just kind of grew apart. And I know people say that, but it is something that happened. I think we just, because we met so young, I think both of us didn't think that we didn't experience life, you know.
Not quite ready for divorce, the couple settled on separation.
It was very kind of strange for me, to the point where he had to kind of drill it in my head, like, no, we're separating. This is for real.
There was a few years after we separated that things was pretty rough with us, but we always knew that our number one priority was Destiny. That was it. I mean, we would argue, but when it came to her, there was no argument.
Whatever the case may be, he was there. He was my biggest hype man.
A decade, Timothy and Patricia remained separated.
They were just like very good co-parents and best friends.
We got back together several times. The only reason that the divorce finally went through is because he started dating a young lady, and he was like, I don't think it's right in God's eye that I'm still married, but I'm out here, you know, dating.
I would say he was kind of a ladies' man a little bit. There were a couple girlfriends that I was introduced to. They were cool.
In the fall of 2014, Destiny moved to Alabama for college. Even with hundreds of miles between them, Timothy was always there for his daughter.
The only thing that he kind of drilled into my head was to stay in school, get as much education as you can. He's always been a great dad.
In the pre-dawn hours of September 14th, 2015, Timothy's house has been gutted by a fire. A body, presumed to be Timothy, has been found inside. Patricia arrives on the scene.
When I walked up and introduced myself to the detective, I explained who I was, and he was like, have you heard from Timothy? I said, no. He was like, at this time, we're thinking that the body that was found was his. I just broke down, and in my mind, I'm thinking, this can't.
The police asked Patricia, Timothy's ex-wife, to come to the police station to give an interview.
With Patricia on her way, detectives with the Chicago Police Department take an initial walkthrough of the scene with investigators from the fire department.
Fire investigators immediately smell the unmistakable scent of gasoline.
For all purposes, this was an obvious arson.
The smell of gas is very distinctive, and there was no reason for there to be gas inside the residence unless it was used as an accelerant to start this fire. The body was so badly burned that they couldn't tell who he was or how he died, but everything pointed to foul play.
Detectives released the body to the medical examiner for autopsy.
Investigators had a lot of questions still to answer, but one thing that was clear, this was now a crime scene.
Following a fire at the home of 48-year-old Timothy Lawrence, Chicago investigators suspect foul play.
There was a body. It smelled like gasoline all throughout the house. and there was this massive fire.
We know it's a crime, so evidence technicians come.
The body was found in an addition in the back of the house, so they're going to start there.
So that's really where the fire started. I mean, that was like burnt to the ground. That was all made of wood.
That was a point of origin. There was several distinct areas where an accelerant was visibly seen and you could smell it.
Because the fire was started where the body was found, that told law enforcement that whoever started that fire was trying to burn the body as well.
A lot of people use arson to try to cover up the physical evidence because it does do a good job of burning up all those things. When things are burnt, there's no DNA, there's no fingerprints, it's gone.
Investigators locate a potential source of evidence that wasn't destroyed.
There were some external cameras on Timothy's residence. One on the garage facing the driveway, and another one on the porch facing the main entrance.
The cameras are connected to a computer inside the house.
The DVR was burnt up, and the hard drive and all the contents were melted. However, there was a sign that said protected by the particular security company and had a phone number. The provider's placard says, hey, call this number for assistance. That's the only possible hope.
They reached out to the security company to see if they could obtain footage.
They had to get a warrant, which could take a long time, but it could really pay off.
Investigators look for more immediate answers.
When anything like this happens, you do what's called a canvass. You knock on the doors. Hey, do you know who lived over there? How is that person? Do you know anybody that you'd think that, would want to do this?
Many neighbors knew Timothy Lawrence and described him as a quiet man who was a good neighbor, kept to himself, and largely hung out with his own family.
One of the neighbors points out that Timothy owns 3 cars, but only 2 were in his driveway. There's a dark color Buick LeSabre that's missing, and so the police issue a bolo to look out for the car.
Detectives head back to the station.
It's normal for the police to do a background investigation even on a victim. And they did conduct one, and they didn't find anything. He had a pretty clean history.
Investigators speak with Timothy's ex-wife, Patricia.
At first they thought, oh, was he into something illegal? Was he doing why he put cameras up and all that? I'm like, if y'all knew him, he was the furthest thing from doing anything illegal.
Timothy had a nephew who had some brushes with the law, so law enforcement asked Patricia if there was any kind of connection there.
They was like, do you think he's capable of doing something? Like maybe he came and asked for help and Timothy wouldn't help him. I hadn't seen the kid in years, so I did not know if he was capable. I didn't think so, but you start looking at everybody differently. You start looking at everyone sideways. Even people that you've known for years, even family members, you start thinking, okay, are they capable of this? Who would do this to him? Who would have such an animosity towards him to do that?
Patricia couldn't think of anyone who might be after Timothy or want to hurt him. He was a hard-working family man.
The next day, investigators attend the autopsy.
The police still don't know 100% whether the body is Timothy or how he died.
Because the body was burned so badly, it came down to the dental records, which confirmed that the body was in fact Timothy Lawrence's body.
The autopsy also reveals Timothy's cause of death.
When they examine the body, they can see that there's an obvious, bullet wound in the back of the skull.
It was determined that he was killed by a medium caliber bullet to the left side of his head. This is a homicide, and it was an intentional arson and killing.
Detectives shared the news with Timothy's family.
It was very jarring, very confusing, because like I said, the type of person my dad is, it took a lot for him to even get mad. So I'm like, what? It just was confusing to me, because I'm like, what enemies could he have? You know, who could do this?
It was hard, especially with Destiny. I mean, it was to the point where we couldn't be out of each other's sight. And all I was trying to do is be as strong as possible for her without her seeing me breaking down. I would go in the bathroom and I would cry just so that she don't see me crying.
2 days after the fire, investigators get a potential break when Timothy's missing Buick is found abandoned 2 blocks from his home.
Whoever took the car could know something or could be responsible, so it was really important for law enforcement to process the car carefully.
And then evidence technician comes and processes that car, so the exterior for fingerprints, the interior for fingerprints, and biological material.
They didn't find any fingerprints in the car. That's usually a quicker result, but they also processed the car for DNA. That, however, takes longer to find out.
A few days later, investigators receive a response from Timothy's security company.
So the detectives hear from the security company and find out that they are able to pull that security footage. That is fantastic news.
Detectives start from the beginning, watching video from weeks before the fire.
You start watching all the different video clips, and remember it's motion sensor, so the car goes by, the mailman comes and delivers mail, the kid kicks a soccer ball. You got to watch that. We tease and say it's a game of duck, duck, goose, right? You're like duck, duck, and then go, wait a minute. That was really the turning point in this case.
Chicago police detectives pore over hours of security camera footage obtained from the home of shooting victim Timothy Lawrence. A clip from 2 days before the fire catches their attention.
On September 12th, it appeared that Timothy greeted someone at the front door. This person was dressed in a hard hat and a day-glow vest.
He had what it looks like an iPad or some sort of tablet in his hand, and he's also carrying a satchel. The other camera in the back catches him walking to the back, and then you see him talking to someone in the window. Moments later, Timothy Lawrence walks out of the backside room and talks with this individual. This individual seems to be pointing around and looking, and then they go into that residence.
An hour later, the camera picks up the supposed utility worker leaving the home. He no longer has on his hard hat or his day-glow vest, but he has on a t-shirt that says, "I'm that dude," as well as a bandage over one of his hands.
In both videos, the police can't really see this individual's face, but what they can see is that he has on a very distinct t-shirt.
Then, investigators see what happened to Timothy's Buick.
And he gets in the victim's car, Timothy Lawrence's car, and leaves.
For 2 days, there's no sign of this man, but more importantly, no sign of Timothy.
Then on the 14th, Timothy's vehicle returns. The quality's good enough where you can make out the license plate of the car, and you know the shape of the car.
It's the same guy driving, but he's not alone. There's someone else with him now.
The recording picked up 2 men headed towards the front door with a gas cannon.
One guy has a skull cap on, like a knit hat, and some other clothing. But if you watch the video, he never looks at the camera. And he doesn't give a side profile to the camera. He takes out the two large gas containers. The other person gives a pretty decent side profile, is much taller.
The suspects use a key to get inside of the home. So now the police have not one, but two suspects that they're looking for in connection with this crime.
And then it goes dead. Someone disabled the power.
It ended just before the fire was reported.
Someone was thinking that, hey, I'm going to unplug, it's not going to work anymore, right before he set the fire. And he's like, I don't care because it's all going to get burned up. He didn't know it was in the cloud.
Timothy was not seen again after he let the person dressed as the meter man inside his home.
It looks like the first man in the utility uniform came, killed Timothy, left, and came back later with an accomplice to burn the place down.
After you look at this information, what do you then do? Okay, I know this person went and got, an accelerant, some gasoline.
Investigators look at Timothy's credit card activity.
The police discovered on September the 13th that somebody using Timothy Lawrence's credit card purchased gasoline in the amount of $28.76 from a local gas station.
That is the day before Timothy's home burned down, but it's the day after the mysterious meter reader visited Timothy's home. The person who did it stole Timothy's credit card, used it to buy gasoline, to then burn down the house to cover up the crime. Police visited the gas station and interviewed the service manager who was on duty at the time. Unfortunately, however, he's unable to identify the potential suspects, and there's no surveillance video.
On January 3rd, 2016, police widened their search by releasing stills from the videos to the public.
There was a time out there that we kind of hit a dead end, and we tried to ask the public, hey, does anybody know who this person is?
No one comes forward, and his family doesn't recognize them. They have what they think are actual pictures of the persons responsible, but they have no idea who they are.
Months pass, and the men remain unidentified.
At that time, it seemed like, oh my God, it's been years almost. It just seems so long. In reality, it was just a few months. But while you're going through that process, it just seems like a long time.
I was worried about that because, a lot of crime and murder that happens in Chicago, it can go unsolved. It can never be solved.
9 months after the fire, on July 21st, investigators finally received the results of the forensic testing from Timothy's recovered Buick.
DNA is discovered on the pair of eyeglasses that are found inside of the vehicle.
DNA leads police to a 42-year-old Chicago resident who has a long criminal history. His name is Willie Bell.
In July 2016, 9 months after the murder of Timothy Lawrence, Chicago police have a suspect and a name.
Willie Bell had a long list of prior convictions, including a conviction for armed robbery, aggravated discharge of a firearm, and for trespassing.
To learn more about him, investigators look online.
Social media postings are not private. They're there for the world to see. Oftentimes, defendants, or criminals, or people accused of crimes leave breadcrumbs on social media.
Right away, detectives locate an incriminating photo.
Investigators made the shocking discovery in Willie Bell's social media of photographs of him wearing the same shirt, "I'm that dude," that was seen leaving the home after the murder of Timothy Lawrence.
We saw the shirt, "I'm that dude," which is still one of my all-time favorite ironies in cases.
Investigators obtain warrants for Willie Bell's private Facebook messages.
Detectives go through hundreds of messages. They learn that his 3-year relationship with his girlfriend had ended, and Willie refused to accept that it was over.
Detectives make a potentially important connection.
On July 30th, Timothy Lawrence had become Facebook friends with Willie Bell's ex-girlfriend. Around the same time, Timothy and the ex-girlfriend became connected. Willie got into a really bad argument with his ex-girlfriend.
Detectives theorize that Willie was jealous over her new friendship with Timothy. He amped up his efforts to get in touch with her.
Willie Bell even got creative and found other ways to contact her through social media. She had blocked him because of these attempts, but he used other social media accounts in order to get in touch with the ex.
She finally communicated with him and seemed to have indicated that she was interested in someone new.
So the only connection that the police can find is this woman between Willie Bell and Timothy Lawrence. And it looks like Willie Bell thinks that Timothy Lawrence is the person that has replaced him.
You know, you can feel the rage starting when he's learning about, this other relationship. You could see it building.
Willie Bell went through multiple sort of diatribes on social media, expressing his frustration with the loss of the relationship and expressing frustration with the new person that was in his ex-girlfriend's life. Murders have occurred based on jealousies or disruptions in relationships since the beginning of time.
Timothy's family members know of the woman, but say the relationship wasn't serious. In fact, it was barely a relationship at all.
From what I understand, Timothy was on his normal garbage route, and he saw her trying to get a car seat in her car. So he stopped the truck and helped her, and that really sparked that relationship where, hey, this person's a nice guy, and they started talking.
Investigators interview the woman.
You know by talking with her just in a couple minutes that this is not someone that's gonna conspire with somebody to murder.
So the investigators think that Willie Bell actually believed that the relationship with his ex and Timothy was a lot more than what it really was. And it was driving him so crazy that he went after this man who wasn't even the rival that he thought he was.
By the fall of 2016, investigators believe Willie Bell is responsible for the death of his perceived enemy, Timothy Lawrence.
Investigators believe that on his visit to Timothy's home, Willie Bell shot his romantic rival in the head, stole his credit cards, and stole his vehicle. In order to prove him guilty, they've got to put their case together piece by piece, brick by brick.
Think of a spoke of a wheel. It's all of these spokes all pointing to the center. It has to be that person.
Well, the investigators put surveillance on Willie, and they determined what he drives, which is a Cadillac, and they also know where he lives.
While we were building the case, we were kind of kept an eye on him there and also at his residence. That was on the way for two of us three to work every day, and we would just make sure that Cadillac is still there and he's still not in the wind.
Investigators learned that Willie Bell is employed as a truck driver.
There is no record of Willie Bell working as a meter reader in Chicago or anywhere else. Authorities believe that he had purchased the Dayglow vest and the helmet as a ruse to get into the home of Timothy Lawrence. Timothy Lawrence, being oblivious to what was going on, readily invited this meter reader into his home.
That leads them to canvass a local hardware store to see if they can find where Willie purchased this costume that allowed him to gain access into Timothy's home.
Footage from a local hardware store shows Willie entering the hardware store and purchasing the hard hat and the day-glow vest 1 week before the murder of Timothy Lawrence.
And at the time, the self-checkouts where he went to have a little micro SD card, and it only records 10 days. So we couldn't get that great facial shot because it was beyond, by the time we figured this all out, it was a little bit later, but they still had the footage, the overview footage of him coming in, him purchasing it.
They also obtained footage of him leaving the store in his Cadillac.
Next, detectives subpoena Willie Bell's phone records.
Cell records can show you which cell tower a phone pings from. You can start to pinpoint about where that phone was.
The phone records placed Willie Bell in the area of the home on both the day of the fire and on the day of the homicide.
He was in the area in both the 12th and the 14th.
The records also expose an unexpected clue.
Phone records revealed that Willie Bell was in constant contact with Philip Bell, his older brother, at the time of the fire at Timothy Lawrence's home. So police had their man. But there was that second person that they saw in the video carrying the gas can.
Could it be Philip Bell?
A close analysis of the surveillance video, as well as a still shot of Philip Bell, led authorities to the conclusion that Philip was the accomplice of his brother Willie on the day of the fire.
On October 24th, 2016, over a year after the fire, authorities are ready to confront Willie Bell in person.
We call it the death of 1,000 cuts. So it's all of those pieces of evidence. It's not just one. It's the stack upon stack upon stack. It's the DNA. It's the cell phone evidence bringing him in those scenes. So looking at all those facts, there's no one did it but Willie.
More than a year after this murder had been committed, Willie Bell was stopped by police as he drove home from his job.
Myself and Detectives Cummings actually grabbed him, was right in front, not too far from his home, right in front of the 22nd District Police Station when we picked him up.
Willie doesn't have a lot to say. He denies everything. He isn't going to confess. He says he does not know Timothy and he's never been to Timothy's home.
4 days later, police arrest Willie's brother and suspected accomplice, Philip Bell.
If you have two people that have committed a crime together, you're going to obviously use that against each other to have one talk about the other one. Now's the time to pick a side.
Chicago investigators interview Philip Bell regarding the shooting of Timothy Lawrence. They suspect that Philip helped his brother, Willie, attempt to cover up the crime by setting a fire inside Timothy's home.
It's always interesting when something happens and it's family involved. It just comes down to either loyalty or self-preservation.
So this is a very difficult situation for the brother to be in because he has his loyalty to his brother, but also he has to save himself. And Philip ultimately chose to talk and tell the truth.
So Philip said that Willie called him and told him that he had hit a lick, meaning that he had tried to rob someone and that person had fought back. During the struggle, Willie said that he had shot and killed the other person.
Philip advised him, you can't leave it like that. You have to burn it down.
And Philip agreed to help.
Philip looked beyond the fact that he may have been involving himself in a crime and was loyal to his family, a decision that he will forever regret.
Philip tells investigators that on September 13th, he went with his brother to Timothy Lawrence's home.
Philip told authorities that he and Willie went inside of the home, doused it with gasoline, Philip admits to stealing a laptop computer and a camera before leaving the home and setting it ablaze. The brothers then quickly fled the home as it became engulfed in flames.
Philip says he didn't know about it until later when he heard about the crime on the news, that his brother had killed Timothy Lawrence out of jealousy. Since the night of the fire, he says that he and Willie have never discussed what happened.
Investigators charge Willie with premeditated murder.
Willie Bell was charged with first-degree murder, concealment of a homicidal death, home invasion, residential arson, and possession of a stolen motor vehicle.
When you see that he goes through all that effort to more or less put a costume on, to get someone inside their house, then execute them, then come back days later and torch the place to make sure they're not caught, it's kind of the ultimate payback.
Even so, justice is anything but swift.
Willie and his attorney kept making excuses as to push it back, keep pushing it back.
Philip is ultimately charged with concealment of a homicidal death and residential burglary.
Philip pays the price for his involvement. In 2021, he is sentenced to 2 years, one in prison and another under supervised release.
His brother kind of went to jail and got out before Willie even got sentenced.
In April 2023, Willie Bell runs out of excuses.
It took 7 years. It was the longest 7 years of my life. I must commend the state's attorney at the time. Him and the victims and witness advocate, they kept me up to date with everything. I was at work and he called me and he's like, I have some news.
Willie decided ultimately to cut his losses and to plead guilty. He pled guilty to 1 count of first-degree murder and received a sentence of 28 years in the Department of Corrections.
If it was left up to me personally, he would rot in jail for the rest of his life. And he could still, because, ain't no telling what happens while they're in prison. So it could be a life sentence to him, but to me, it wasn't long enough. It was not long enough.
Whether or not justice was served is really up to the family of the deceased. He suffered a tragic, horrible death that he did not deserve.
My fondest memory of him was, just him always being there for everything when it came to Destiny. Everything, every show, every performance, anything that has to do with his pie, he was there. And I could not have asked for a better father for my daughter. He was just a great, great person. And for his life to end the way it did, it was just horrific.
After something like that happens, you can never really move on from it. But we can, heal. I've continued to follow my dreams. I'm still trying to pursue what I'm passionate about.